Christina laid out this concept of, they had a dominating market share when it came to training AI models. But inference, the new kind of phase of all of this, is different. It's much more fragmented. And therefore, you see the spending spree by NVIDIA to try and, ensure that they have this moat around their business. How well do you think they're accomplishing that? Have they been able to really remove competitive threats as it pertains to inference?
Yeah, first of all, good morning, Leslie. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year. This is a very big inflection. The last few years have been all about building this pre-training. We've seen NVIDIA dominate the market, more than 94% of this GPU space. But then over the last part of 2025, we heard a lot about Google and its TPU and Amazon and Trainium. And Jensen had sort of brushed it off at different times, saying, these XPU projects they're a year behind, they're 2 years behind. I think the Grok deal was the first time that you really saw Jensen acknowledge. Now, he's always acknowledged the importance of inference, but acknowledging that maybe it's a talent game, maybe it's a architecture game. We know that memory is super constrained, and the way Grok approaches memory to do inference is very unique. So I think Jensen, you hear this phrase, Leslie, a lot that, oh, Jensen's playing 4D chess. I think he's playing it on talent. I think he's playing it on supply chain. I think he's playing it on the inference economics because he knows he's got this large market share, but he does need to preserve it. So I think these moves are good moves, but it's a short game and a long game. And I think it's more a long game that he's playing right now.
Yeah, the talent element is really interesting because oftentimes when you see a company try and build out a competitive, moat around a certain business, it is because of the R&D. It is because of the product. Talent is a little trickier. You have to, you're dealing with humans. People can leave. You have to pay people a lot. And it's oftentimes difficult to assess the value that a human might deliver to your business as well. So how do you kind of assess as an investor this strategy, especially when you're talking about, hundreds of people and their competencies and how they'll deliver those competencies for a massive company like NVIDIA?
Yeah, what we know, and I think Mark Zuckerberg has really sort of set the stage of just how big an investment can be in the right talent. Now, we did have Meta as one of our best ideas. I think you and I talked about this last week, but those investments don't necessarily pay off immediately. And so the opportunity for a $2 to $3 billion spend on AI 21, which is generating $50 million in revenue, has to be based upon what we think is the theme of 2026. And this theme is going to be about agentic AI and enterprise AI. One of the big reasons that we had this bubble debate almost the second entire half of 2025 was because we're trying to figure out where the revenue comes from. Like the CapEx spend, we understand all the constraint, and we understand that every hyperscaler is going to continue to spend at an alarming rate to get there first for AGI, ASI, whatever we want to call it today. But what we also know is that enterprise is where 95% of the data that is going to, basically enable enterprises to make money, more productivity, more efficiency with AI. And that data sits behind the firewall, and those enterprise tools and those agents, those need to be built. And it's a small subset of people out there that have the understanding and the talent to do this. So whether it's Mark Zuckerberg, whether it's been Google with their decade-long investments in DeepMind, et cetera, Jensen knows that he's got to bring the best talent in to make sure that he's able to play in all parts of the stack. So we think he's playing the right game, and he's also playing the right game with supply chain, going and securing the wafer and the packaging capacity with TSMC, and even what he's been able to do with memory and getting ahead there, and maybe even slowing down the XPUs from Google. So Jensen's playing the game on all these different fronts, and he's doing a really good job.